This week in Jamaica Now, student violence at the UWI. The university postpones two major events amid tension after a female is attacked and injured on hall. What happened in the Senate following controversial ruling of the Constitutional Court? Nigerian man at the center of Mandeville Hospital Ebola scare sues the government. Benny White cries foul after no confidence motion against him passes. The details of these and other stories coming up after the break.
Reach anyone, anywhere in the world with the Gleaner Online. Rich media, interactive banner ads, dynamic page wraps. Increase, target, track.
I'm Carleen Brown and this is Jamaica Now. There was more tension at the University of the West Indies UWI Mona last week after a female student was attacked by a male student on Chancellor Hall. Amid the tension, the UWI has indefinitely postponed last week's homecoming parade and flag-raising ceremony. The student was attacked around midnight on Tuesday. It's understood that the female student was walking in the vicinity of Block C on Chancellor Hall when stones were thrown in her direction. It's reported that the female approached a male in the group, resulting in an altercation. She reportedly suffered several injuries, including a gash on her forehead, which required medical attention. The male student was subsequently arrested and charged with assault occasioning grievous bodily harm. The assault came as the university grapples with claims of gender-based violence on campus. The incident resulted in protests from angry students and threats of retaliation. In the meantime, the UWI says it is consulting internal and external experts on violence and conflict resolution to determine the extent and nature of the problem on campus. There were more developments last week following the court ruling that Dr. Christopher Tufton and Arthur Williams were inappropriately booted from the Senate in 2013. On Friday, both men turned up at the Senate. They were admitted, but Senate President Floyd Morris ruled that in order to rejoin the upper house, they could not participate. However, Senators Tufton and Williams rejected the proposal. The Senate later voted for the matter to go to the Supreme Court to make a declaration whether Tufton and Williams may participate in the Senate.
It must be noted and stressed that to date, I have received no formal indication of the ruling from the Supreme Court. Notwithstanding this situation, the question of membership has arisen subject to 44(1) of the Constitution of Jamaica and Section 3 of the Parliament Membership Question Act. The matter is required to be referred to the Supreme Court for determination.
A day earlier, the Attorney General advised the Senate President that consistent with a ruling of the Constitutional Court, Williams and Tufton were still senators. The Constitutional Court had ruled that the opposition leader, Andrew Holness, was wrong in 2013 when he submitted to the Governor General undated pre-signed resignation letters of Tufton and Williams. Former Prime Minister Bruce Golding was in for 4 days of intense questioning last week as the West Kingston Commission of Inquiry resumed from the holiday break. According to Golding, members of the security forces did not appear to be supervised during the May 2010 operation. Mr. Golding said he also came to the conclusion that there were weaknesses in the command structure for law enforcement personnel involved in the operation.
Bishop Blair and I spoke. He expressed both a concern that every effort should be made to avoid the possible consequences of a confrontation between the security forces and elements in the community once the security forces sought to execute the warrant. He indicated a willingness to seek to make contact with Coke and to see whether Coke could be persuaded to surrender.
And he said he was not convinced that all of the more than 70 civilians killed during the operation had been gunmen. In the meantime, Golding said he had no prior knowledge of the use of mortars by members of the security forces during the operation. Mr. Golding said he had received numerous reports from residents that mortars or bombs were being used in the operations. The Nigerian man at the center of an Ebola scare at the Mandeville Regional Hospital has filed a lawsuit in the Supreme Court against the Jamaican government and the Southern Regional Health Authority. Lecturer Dr. Bob Banjo is seeking damages for false imprisonment, defamation, unlawful disclosure of patient information, and breaches of his constitutional right to privacy. He has also sued nurse Anne-Marie Allen Sharp and Dr. Masada James. Banjo also said he suffered great anxiety and distress as well as loss and was brought into public scandal, ridicule and contempt. In the suit filed by attorneys at law Arthur Williams and Ronald Young Jr., Dr. Banjo contends that on the morning of October 18 last year, he visited the hospital and told Dr. James that he had visited his homeland, Nigeria, in August 2014. Last year, Dr. Banjo told the Gleaner that Dr. James told Nurse Allen Sharp, in the presence of other patients and persons at the hospital, that he was likely suffering from the Ebola virus, resulting in wide-scale panic.
The nurse and Dr. James were very, very unprofessional in the sense that patient confidentiality is very, very important. Even if I have Ebola, it should be kept between the nurse who asked me if I went to Nigeria or and the medical doctor, Dr. James. The two of them should have been the two people who should know. If the two of them have kept quiet, there is no way anybody in A&E will know. There is anybody outside the hospital will know there's Ebola man. It is really bad and nasty.
Former mayor of Port Antonio, Benny White, is crying foul after he was booted following the passage of a no-confidence motion last Thursday during the monthly sitting of the Portland Parish Council. White has categorically stated that colleague councillor Dexter Rowland was deliberate in siding with 4 Jamaica Labour Party JLP councillors in successfully removing him from office. The 5-3 majority, which led to the removal of White, came as a shocker to many, including dozens of onlookers who converged in the council chamber to view the outcome of the no-confidence motion. But it was a self-claimed error on the part of Rowland, which tipped the scales in favor of the JLP. Following the ousting of White, Deputy Mayor Wayne Mackenzie of the Prospect Division was installed by the acting secretary-manager as the new chairman of the council. Minority Leader Darren Wood, who served notice of a no-confidence motion in January, was overjoyed at the results.
I'm very pleased. I expected it. I had no doubt in my mind that the motion would be successful. I was disappointed that I expected more people to support the motion because it was a consensus of council that Benny White should go because we believe he was doing a very poor job and he has failed as a mayor. So I expected more votes.
White was elected deputy mayor following Rowland's decline. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. You may tune in to Power 106 FM for regular updates. Follow us on Twitter at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. I'm Carleen Brown, and before we go, scenes from the University of the West Indies amid concern of violence on campus.
Red bag. No.